Hello again, fellow collectors. So I'm back, and there is my Threezero Robo-Dou Voltron. So today we're gonna go ahead and just review this guy and see what he can do and see how he stacks up against all the other more recent Voltron iterations. Okay, so just to give you an update on what happened with my particular copy here. When I originally got it, I inserted the arms. It went into the desired depth, but it would fall off when I tried to rotate the arms. So when I contacted Threezero, I told them the problem. They explained to me, the warranty information. Explained to me that I'd have to send it back at my own penny, and that it would take a couple of months to fix. So they suggested I try a different way of inserting the connectors into the Black Lion shoulders, which I did. So they suggested basically that I align the connectors parallel to the green and red lion's bodies, as opposed to perpendicular, and insert them until they fully snap in, which they did. The problem was, once again, when I go to rotate them, they would basically snap off and fall off of the shoulders. So a dear friend of mine said, you know what? Maybe this is just like one of the regular action figures we collect. Why don't you go ahead and try some either shock oil or try some heat? So I didn't really want to fill this thing with oil in the joint, so I tried a little bit of heat from a hair dryer on low, mind you. I didn't want to go too hot because once again, the plastic in this thing is very, very thin, so I didn't know if it would warp it. But I did try it for a couple of minutes. Okay, mind you, just very briefly, I put it on the joints as it was snapped in, and what I found that when I now tried to rotate them, the joints were a little looser and allowed them to rotate in their axis. So their problem solved, and now here we go. So I'm very happy. I didn't have to send it back. I didn't have to wait an extra couple of months to get my robot back, and I can finish the review for you guys. So there he is. And like I said before, this guy is beautiful. The finish is great. He looks great. There he is posed with his sword. He can double hand the sword, as you can see. And it was a little hard to get him into that pose, but I was able to do it. And if I was going to leave him on the shelf, that's how I would leave him on the shelf, because he looks great. He also does come with a couple of his other accessories. He comes with his spinning blade, which I seem to have misplaced at the moment. And once again, the finish on these weapons is painted. Okay, so they look great. It's a silver paint, no orange peel. Great painting. That's one of the things I can say about Threezero. Their paint and finish is always really beautiful, and it always comes out looking very high end. Now, as far as the articulation, let's go ahead and cover that. So to do that, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take his blazing sword off, snap the shoulders back into place. Okay, come on, open up. There we go. Let's take his sword. Now his sword does have one of the snap-in mechanisms, so there's a peg. It snaps in right at the roof of the lion's mouth. It could be either. Okay, so there's the peg, and once again, that snaps into the roof of the mouth. It pegs in pretty solidly. Okay, so I didn't have any problems with it. And as far as the length of the sword, it's almost as tall as the body, as you can see. Okay, let me go ahead and reset him. I'm gonna pause the video. Okay, so now we're back. Let's go ahead and check him out as he stands there in his A stance. And by the way, guys, when I display a Voltron, usually they're displayed just like that, and they're displayed next to my other Voltrons in their shelf. And that's rarely. I kind of rotate my shelves around. I don't have a lot of space to display. So when I do display them, I like to kind of have them there standing one against the other. and they're usually just in a simple A stance, because that's the way I can really appreciate the aesthetics of the Voltron, and just really harken back to, you know, that statuesque, very stoic look that they always had in the cartoon. So let's go ahead and measure them out. Okay, so Voltron, it comes in, I'm gonna say about 11, close to 11 inches at the top of the head. Close to 11 and 3/4 at the top of the wings. Okay, so he's not very tall, but he is a good size. Okay, he's not a tiny Voltron by any means. Okay, now as far as his articulation is concerned, okay, so as I said previously, the head can rotate side to side. Okay, it can look up, can look down, not very far, but it can look down. Okay, as far as the side to side, the joint is really, really tight, so I'd be careful. Kind of pivot at the neck. Don't pivot at the head. You don't want to break it. Okay, and he does have this head tilt, this quizzical hello, what is that kind of look, right? As far as arms are concerned, oh, there it goes. See what I mean? Once again, now I guess maybe with the weather they got a little tight, so it's a great time for me to kind of show you how they told me to insert. So once again, place the connector parallel. Now if you guys can notice, look at the damage that was caused from it going in the joint. I believe like stripped a little bit of the what do you call that, the straight edges of the joint. So once again, insert it like so. There you go. It's snapped in. Rotate one, and let me go ahead and try to rotate. There we go. Okay, so I'm not gonna put a blow dryer right now, but these joints, these rotating connectors, they're really, really tight. So I suggest if you have yours, if you apply a little shock oil, I would say maybe right there at the connector, just a tiny drop, and let it circulate. Otherwise, just a hair dryer for just maybe 30 seconds to a minute on low, not high, to loosen up the joint. Okay, and that's helped me out. So once again, spins all the way around, not a problem. Okay, can go up that high. That's pretty good. Okay, now he does have a rotation here below the shoulder. Okay, and once again, that's really, really tight. Okay, he can extend a little bit to increase his range in the arm, which is a little bit more than 90, I would say. Okay, just slightly more. Okay, and he has rotation at that joint as well. Okay, let's put him back, and his head can rotate any which way you want. Okay, so they do allow for some good some good positioning of the arms and some good posing. Now it also has this this butterfly joint, or reverse butterfly joint, you could say, both ways. Now it goes in a lot more than it goes out, and then if you don't want to use that, just go ahead and snap it back. Okay. He does tilt. Okay, he has a good amount of tilt at the waist, and he also tilts back. Not too much, okay? Not too much. All right. He does rotate slightly, but not too much, because he just rotates right here in this peg, and so he only rotates to the point where he's hitting the edges of that belt. As far as his legs are concerned, so he can extend the legs, the hips forward a little bit, so that he can get more dynamic posing, but it's really tight on my copy of Voltron, so I always have a hard time doing it, and every time I do it, I just get really nervous. There it is. Okay, so now he's extended forward, and you can see how he's lowered a little bit. Now he does extend forward on this extension that goes back and forth. So and then he can rotate pretty high. I mean, that's a awesome kick, and it does hold under its own weight. Now, my friend, he bought one too. He got his copy, and his hip joints are really loose. Where this one just I mean, he goes like that and it just droops down. It sags down. So I don't know if he could tighten it. I'm sure he could tighten it. It looks like there's a screw in there, so I'm sure he could tighten it back up and get it to work. Now, in this condition, it can go out to there, which is not too much. Okay, and this can go back all the way until it hits the hip and go up all the way. You saw that. Okay, as far as the knee is concerned. Okay, there's the range of the knee. Now I know that this joint right here springs in to allow for a little bit more room, but that's about it. Okay, he does have rotation right here below the hip. Okay, so you can rotate. There's no rotation at the knee. Okay, and that's fine. And the leg has some flexibility here at the ankle joint. Oh, let me get that in camera. All right, so if you can see that, it does rotate. Flex up a little bit. Flex down as much as you want. Okay, actually that's the limit right there. Flexing down. Go back. Those leg joints kind of pop off a little bit. Okay, now let's go ahead and slide it back to its place, and I believe we go up one more. There it is. Now it's snapped into place. Okay. Oh, there goes little tail. That's fine. That's a black lion's tail. It can snap back on. Not a big deal. Okay. Let's clean him up a little bit. Make him look presentable, because Voltron should definitely look presentable, okay? And by the way, guys, some of you have started telling me about, like preferences and which one is better than which one. And to be frank with you, I love all the Voltrons. The more Voltrons, the merrier, okay? I would collect any Voltron I see. In fact, I love hunting down Voltron, especially, those grails. So, you don't have to tell me about which one you prefer. As long as, it suits your needs and you're happy with it, that's what's important, okay? I'm just going to give you my opinion. And this is all it is. It's my opinion on this particular Voltron. I have most of the Voltrons, okay? There's only very few I'm missing. I have, like all of the non-transformable as well as the transformable copies of Voltron, including some bootlegs. I don't have a lot of bootlegs. There's only a few bootlegs I have, because some of those are really hard to come by, and they're really pricey nowadays. I wish I would have got in on bootlegs back in the early 2000s when they were dirt cheap. Basically, you're talking about $10, $15, $20 a piece. But now, some of these pieces go for, hundreds, if not thousands. So my point is, enjoy all your Voltrons. It doesn't matter which one you have. As long as you're enjoying it, as long as you get the fulfillment that you want out of it, that's all that should matter, okay? It doesn't matter to me if there's die cast, no die cast. As far as durability, yes, I'm going to tell you, some pieces are probably going to last longer if you put more wear and tear on them, okay? I don't really put a lot of wear and tear on them. Once I'm done with this, this is going to go on the shelf, and that's it. I'm not gonna play with it. I don't sit there and have a lot of use to actually play with them. I do like looking at them, displaying them, and kind of reminiscing, talking to my friends about the hunt, how we got them, any problems, things like that. And comparing toys. It's and sharing our toy experiences. That's what's fun for me. But having said that, I love to buy Voltron, and so as you can tell, I don't just have one. I can't get enough. Okay, these are like chips for me. I have to keep getting as many as I can. And and this is just another example. So even though I had problems with it initially, and as you can see, it's still going to give me a bit of a pain. I'm really happy to have it in my collection. Okay. Now, what I want to do for you guys is just go ahead and give you a 360. So there's the front profile, the back, and the back is really clean. Okay. But, you know what I wish? I wish somebody would come up with like a little attachment that would basically attach from here to here and make that red Y shape that was in the cartoon. I think I only have like one Voltron that had that going in, and that was the Mattel Blazing Sword Voltron, the SDCC one. And you see this shape right here that fills in that space. I wish someone would or one of these companies would actually go ahead and do that for these transformable Voltrons, you know, just a kind of a snap-in piece. And in fact, you know, like Threezero or somebody who's doing add-ons, maybe they could do a piece that plugs into the tail here. See, there's a little peg right there where you put the Black Lion's tail and snaps off. And you can plug it in right here and basically, you know, just create a Y shape that aligns with these joints right here, and it should stay solid in there while it's in Voltron mode. Now, I don't know about, you know, having it pose in any dynamic way, but I think that would work and I would buy it. So there you go. There's that. There's a solution for that. But once again, you know, that's a pretty clean back. You don't see a lot of screw holes everywhere, which is really, really nice. Okay, I really do like that. I like it when the finish on these toys is nice and complete. Okay, so this gives you a sense of completeness that some of the other Voltrons don't have. Okay, even some of the higher end ones. Some of the higher ends, you know, you see screw holes everywhere. So there's the other side. Again, profile. And once again, we're back to the front. Okay, now, what you guys probably want to see is you want to see some comparisons. So let's go ahead and put this guy in the back burner. Okay, and let's bring in some of the other competitors. Okay, so the closest to that would probably be the Bandai GX71, the Soul of Chogokin Voltron. Now, this is a beautiful Voltron, okay? And how do you expect anything less from the company that created the original toy? I mean, I wouldn't. I would expect, you know, an unsurmountable, you know, like precision and beauty to their edition, to their rendition of Voltron, and I think they delivered. You know, it's beautiful. They didn't do the covers on the legs like Threezero and in Carbotics, but regardless, you know, it still harkens back to that original Popey Voltron or the Matchbox Voltron, which is what's nice with this. Now, as far as the heft, you know, like it's apples and oranges as far as heft is concerned. I mean, this thing is nice and hefty. This is solid. I mean, there's joints there with die cast everywhere. The shoulders, the hips, the legs. So that's really nice and comforting for the long term. This one is very, very light. Okay. I once said on one of my updates that it kind of feels similar to this, and maybe that was an exaggeration. This is the MC1 Elvis. This is a bit lighter, but you know, this isn't heavier by a lot. It's very, very light. Okay, as far as the weight is concerned, I would say this is the plastic Toynami, the metallic version, and this feels like the same weight as this. Okay, maybe this is slightly heavier, but again, you know, it's a very, very light piece. Does that take away points from it? No, not at all. You know, I mean, it makes it holding, you know, those weird poses better for it because, you know, it doesn't have heavy joints. But eventually, you know, all of the joints on these things are friction joints. So I think eventually, as you know, as you play with it and pose it and repose it, those joints are going to get looser. Those tolerances tend to loosen up over time on toys, the more you play with them. So if that's your thing, just know that will happen. Okay, that's only natural. Now, as far as another, so once again, let's go ahead and put them right next to each other, so you can see the finish, and we can see that the Solo Chogokin is a little bit taller by just I would say maybe like a quarter of a head, and he's also a bit chunkier in the chest. Okay, the Solo Chogokin, this one's a bit more compact in the chest. The colors seem to be a lot brighter and a lot more saturated in the Solo Chogokin, but that doesn't mean that this is ugly by any means. It just means the color's a little bit more muted, which is fine. You know, I really like it. One thing that I found really odd was this red stripe below the belt, where all of the other Voltrons have this little dip, okay, to accentuate kind of like the shape of the buckle. This one just has a straight line, and then it just goes back up into itself, which was a little strange. I didn't expect that. It makes this seem actually a little bit wider than it should be, and makes it seem more narrow for some reason, because it doesn't echo that shape, which is just a design thing. And again, it's a little bit awkward, but you know, I'll live with it. You know, I'm okay. One other thing that I wish they would have rectified on these things is this joint, okay, for the wings. Why can't they put the joint in the back? Because right here in the front, it's so ugly, and they all have it. The original Popey had the little white square, and they each had joints on, so it was kind of like a double joint that would rotate on that little white rectangle in the middle, and that kind of, you know, it allowed you to not have this this pin joint there, which is kind of ugly, to be honest with you. So there he is next time. Let's go ahead and compare him to some other Voltrons. Okay, let's move him out of the way. Okay, let's put this guy in the back towards the forefront, so you guys can see. This is another one of the more recent iterations of Voltron, and this is the Playmates classic 84 Voltron. Oh gosh, you can barely see it. Let me go ahead and adjust my tripod here. Okay, there they go. Okay, and so as you can see, I mean, that thing is huge. Okay, that thing is huge, but it was designed to be more of a toy rather than a high-end collectible, and it succeeds at that. And for me, it just succeeds at being a collectible in itself, because again, I don't play with these things. I just like looking at them, and it's a great piece. It's a great piece that was very easy to get, and it was very affordable, so it was a lot of fun. But there you go, there's a comparison with that. Okay, let's move him out of the way. And if we're going to go big, one of the more recent Voltron iterations for collectors was this floppy mess from Mattel, which I still love. You know, I call it a floppy mess, but in all honesty, I love it. Let me go ahead and see if I can put this guy into frame. It's huge. Okay, I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get with that guy. All right, so so that's the Mattel the Matty Collector Club Voltron. Okay, and you know, he's laughably huge. Okay, and he has all kinds of problems. You know, all kind of, the hips are terrible. You know, I mean, if you look at it wrong, it'll just collapse. Some of the legs just, you know, they have like this snap-in mechanism, which was meant to be fun, but it's more of a pain in the butt, because if you move the arm, the things will just snap. The legs will just snap open, and it's just weird and cumbersome. But again, you know, if you're just having it standing there, it looks pretty cool, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have. Mine's I purchased it. That I purchased it from a fellow collector, and he had actually gone through the trouble of actually panel lining the Matty Collector Voltron, and he did a great job. I think it looks great, and kudos to him for having the ability to do that, and having the gonads to do that, because honestly, with my collectibles, I wouldn't dare touch them. I'm scared that I would ruin it, and I'll be like, oh man, I gotta buy another one now. But he did it. It looked great, and there's that one. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move this back a little bit. Sorry for the shakiness. Oh, that thing was huge. Okay, let's get you out of the way. Okay, now here's another Voltron, and this is the Bandai Mini-Pla Voltron. So this is a kit that you have to assemble yourself, and it's kind of a parts former, but I can tell you with all honesty that this little guy is one of the most amazing Voltrons in my collection. I mean, it's gorgeous all around. Let's see if I can just focus in on him. Okay. It is all plastic. It's a model kit basically, but it all works. It's a parts former, so you would take these caps off the shoulders and these legs, and then you'd place the legs that actually do move, so everything moves. And like I said, it looks great. The proportions are great. I think it does harken back to the animation, and it's one of the most enjoyable, fun Voltrons I've ever had. I can kind of take him everywhere, and take pictures of him in the open air, and he looks great again. So he's one of my favorite pieces. Okay, so let's move him out of the way, and he's obviously smaller, about 1/3 the size of, or actually almost 2/3 the size of the Threezero. And there's the MC1. Okay, and this is a neat little guy. And once all these things separate, they go into these lions, but then you can transform them into these cubes. And I guess that's the draw of these things. It's cool for what it is. I wish it was more classic looking, but it's classic enough. So he's gonna stay in my collection. Let's move him out of the way. And the main one, I think the main comparison people want to see is the Carbotics. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the Carbotics out here and see how he looks against that. Okay, there he is. And again, guys, both of these companies wanted to do a high-end collectible. Threezero is known for their high-end collectibles, and so is Carbotics. So their take on this was gorgeous. Both of them are gorgeous. If you guys have the money, the extra income to get one or the other or both, I would go ahead and get them. Okay, because you won't be sad. You won't regret it. Especially if you love Voltron, okay? I mean, the finish on this guy is wow. I mean, the finish on this particular piece is beautiful. Look at the chrome, whether it's the gold chrome or the chrome. It's beautiful. I mean, his joints are nice and hefty, and they hold. The flap mechanism, the cover mechanism, is a little bit more solid than the Threezero. The Threezero's flaps are always kind of coming undone as you're manipulating it, whereas these kind of stay in place. But that doesn't take away anything from this. Again, this was almost half the price. This guy was around $600 at original retail. I think they had a sale for after Christmas, and he was going for around 500 something. I think that was an awesome price. But even at regular retail, $600, I thought it was worth it, to be honest with you guys. Okay, the size is awesome. You know, it's very imposing. He looks amazing on your shelf, and you know when you look at these guys side by side, okay, you can tell which one stands out, right? I mean, it's not just me looking at them. I'm just saying, that the bigger one is going to stand out, and the finish on it just looks amazing. And here's a great example of what I was talking about right here under the belt line. This little dip for that red line. I don't know why Threezero decided to go with just that one straight line. Again, it makes this part seem a little bit more narrow and wide, whereas this kind of echoes this whole thing he's got going on in his chest, and it looks a lot nicer, a lot in design terms. Okay, now as far as the height is concerned, so once again, the Threezero was around 11.5 inches, and the Carbotics, I'm gonna say, is around 14.5 inches to the top of the crest of the head. Okay, so in terms of actual size, he's only like what, 3 inches higher, but he looks more imposing, and he manages to kind of look bigger than that. Okay, so in terms of money, you get what you pay for. Not that this is a badly spent $300. Again, I had some initial problems, but luckily they were able to get resolved, and I'm very happy with them. Okay, so those are the main contenders as far as comparing this guy. Okay, just for fun, let's go ahead and put him up to let me see. Here's the original Matchbox. And they're almost around the same size. Okay, so looks good. Okay, and let me see, who else do we have here? Let's go ahead and once again, let me take out. Let me bring out this guy. He's the Toy Nami. This is the plastic. I have the 30th anniversary as well, but this is my favorite one. That one is like really heavy, and again, all these joints are really loose. So playing with that, I feel like it's gonna break. So I just leave that guy in the box. As far as another one that we could go ahead and compare him to, let me see. I've shown you most of these. I think we're just gonna stick with that. Okay. I think I've given you enough of a comparison. Let's go ahead and get a couple of close-up views. Okay, let's get Toy Nami Voltron out of the way. Okay, smile. There you go. His face is really, really delicate. The features are kind of soft, to be honest with you, but that doesn't make it bad. It just means that the features are soft compared to some of the other Voltrons. If you compare his facial features to those of, let's say the original Matchbox, you can see that the Matchbox had much more harder geometric features, and those were great for the time. It definitely makes you think Super Robot. This makes you think a little bit Macy's Mannequin, to be honest with you. But again, it's not ugly. I'm just used to his facial features being a little bit more hard edged, not as soft. Okay, and all of the metallics on these are painted metallics. They're not cast, so the silver is just silver paint. This gold is not, the gold for the horns is just gold paint. And the eyes are also painted in gold. And again, the gold and the rest of the paint is beautiful. Okay, there are a couple of blemishes. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if you can see that right there. Let me bring that in closer. There's some chipping right there. That was there. But again, if you're just standing it upright, you can't really see those things. So, you know, it's not perfect. And once again, guys, this plastic is thin. This plastic is very, very thin. And I worry that if I handle him in a manner that's a little bit too rough, I think honestly that either I'll cause stress marks on the joints, or I'll plainly snap off whatever piece I'm manipulating. Okay, so I would go ahead and just treat this with kid gloves, because I do want it to be in my collection, and enjoy it for many years to come. Okay, guys, so that was my Threezero Robo-Dou Voltron review. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And if you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Okay? Have a great day. Thank you, and happy collecting.